She's a sneak, she's a snoop, she's trying to sabotage.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to more Girls Next Door, the podcast where we revisit the iconic episodes of the Girls Next Door while uncovering the behind-the-scenes drama, hidden dynamics, and Playboy Mansion stories the cameras never showed and even the gossip bloggers barely dared to touch. I'm your host, Girls Next Door mega fan and Y2K survivor Megan. Come on to my house. If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening, leave a 5-star review, and share the show with another Girls Next Door fan. It truly helps the podcast grow, and I appreciate every single one of you who continues coming back each recap. Today, we're talking about Season 3, Episode 3, Let Them Eat Birthday Cake. Originally airing on March 17th, 2007, this episode follows Holly's 27th birthday celebration, an elaborate Marie Antoinette-themed party complete with powdered wigs, French cuisine, custom portraits, lavish gifts, and enough blue satin ribbon to wrap a midsize SUV. At first glance, this episode feels light. It's beautiful, elegant, colorful. But if you peel back the lace and spoon off the buttercream frosting, there are some surprisingly revealing moments. Moments that remind us how rigid life inside the mansion really was. Moments that reveal how much Holly invested emotionally into creating special occasions. And one little costume choice that fans have debated for years. Trust me, there's a lot to unpack. But first, it's time to crack open the Y2K vault. This episode aired just over a month after one of the biggest celebrity stories of the entire 2000s. On February 8th, 2007, the world was stunned by the sudden death of Anna Nicole Smith at just 39 years old. If you were around then, you probably remember exactly where you were when you heard the news. For weeks, it completely dominated entertainment television. TMZ was still in its infancy, but quickly became one of the biggest sources covering every new development. Every day seemed to bring another headline. Questions surrounding her estate, the very public battle over the paternity of her daughter Danny Lynn, speculation about prescription medications, and endless retrospectives about her whirlwind rise to fame. Anna Nicole had become one of the defining pop culture figures of the late 90s and early 2000s. She was a guest model, a Playboy Playmate of the Year, the star of her own wildly chaotic reality show, and someone who, much like the women of the Girls Next Door, existed in that strange space where glamour, celebrity, and tabloid culture all collided. Watching this episode today, it's impossible not to remember that the Playboy world was experiencing a very different moment off camera. While Holly is planning an extravagant Marie Antoinette birthday party inside the mansion, the outside world is mourning one of Playboy's most recognizable stars. It's a reminder of just how closely Playboy and celebrity culture were intertwined during the 2000s. You really couldn't turn on the television in early 2007 without hearing Anna Nicole's name. And now, if you'll kick off your candies, hang up your trucker hat, and silence your sidekicks, we'll get into Let Them Eat Birthday Cake.
Good morning, Mary.
Morning, sweetheart.
Are you coming to my birthday party?
Yes.
This year I'm turning 27, and I decided for my birthday I'm going to have a Marie Antoinette-themed party at the mansion. I ordered this huge cake from Lori, so I'm going to have her make it, and I'm just going to set it out in the Great Hall for everybody to look at. And that way, everybody can have cake.
The episode opens with absolutely gorgeous footage of the Playboy Mansion. The camera slowly glides across rolling emerald green hills, through tumbling waterfalls, and past colorful parakeets preening themselves on branches bursting with bright tropical flowers. The grounds almost feel like a movie set. Everything is perfectly manicured. Every corner seems designed to transport visitors somewhere else. For one episode, we're not walking into a bachelor mansion. We're walking into Versailles. You'll get it. Hang in there. Inside, Holly pops into the office and asks Mary if she's coming to her birthday party. Holly explains she's turning 27 and has planned a Marie Antoinette-themed celebration, complete with French food and mandatory period costumes. Now, before we go any further, let's briefly talk about Marie Antoinette. Marie Antoinette was the last Queen of France before the French Revolution. Born in Austria in 1755, she married the future King Louis XVI while she was still a teenager and eventually became one of history's most recognizable royal figures. She's remembered for extravagant fashion, towering powdered hairstyles, luxurious gowns, and an image of overwhelming excess during a period when much of France was struggling financially. As public anger reached a breaking point during the French Revolution, the monarchy was overthrown. Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI were both tried for treason, and in 1793, she was executed by guillotine at just 37 years old. Her dramatic rise and equally dramatic fall are a big part of why she continues to fascinate people more than 2 centuries later. Whether she actually uttered the famous phrase, "let them eat cake," is highly debated. But fair or unfair, it became forever attached to her image. So when Holly chooses Marie Antoinette as her birthday theme, she isn't celebrating revolution. She's celebrating the fantasy. The pastel colors, the ornate dresses, the ribbons, the pearls, and the towering wigs. It's basically if Pinterest existed in the 18th century. And if you've watched Holly throughout this series, this theme makes perfect sense. She has always gravitated toward old Hollywood glamour, Disney princesses, vintage aesthetics, and elaborate costume parties. This wasn't just a birthday, it was world building. Holly also mentions she's ordered a very special custom cake. Remember that, because poor cake. It never stood a chance.
My first birthday at the mansion, there were like 7 girlfriends living here. It wasn't really revolving around me very much. And this year, it's going to be all about me and what I want to do.
The episode flashes back to footage from Holly's very first birthday at the mansion. Standing in the center is Hef, surrounded by 7 blonde girlfriends wearing tiny, shiny lingerie comprised of latex, fishnets, and lace. It's almost impossible not to notice how crowded the scene feels. Everyone is sharing the spotlight. And that's Holly's point. She explains that in those early years, because there were so many girlfriends, she never really felt like her birthday was about her. Imagine celebrating your birthday every year, except you're sharing it with 6 other women, all expected to look identical, pose together, and orbit around one central person. Even if everyone sincerely wishes you a happy birthday, you're still just one piece of a much larger production. Your birthday becomes another mansion event. But this party feels different. Now there are only 3 girlfriends. The theme reflects Holly's personality. The decorations reflect Holly's interest. The menu reflects Holly's taste. And the costumes reflect Holly's vision. For perhaps the first time, this genuinely feels like Holly's birthday. But not so fast, because before long, we're reminded that even Holly's birthday still has to compete with someone else's schedule. And that tells us far more about life inside the mansion than I think the producers even intended. The next scene takes us into the mansion kitchens where the staff is already in full preparation mode. Chefs are busy chopping vegetables, arranging platters, and preparing what promises to be a beautiful French-inspired dinner. Everyone is moving with purpose. Brian from Guest Services appears in an interview. Whenever something complicated is happening, somehow Brian is involved. He looks stressed because tonight isn't just Holly's birthday party. It's also movie night. Every week, the mansion followed an incredibly rigid social schedule. Sunday was fun in the sun, Thursday was club night, Friday was buffet and movie, Saturday was party night. Everything revolved around Hef's calendar. Not the girlfriends, not the guests, not even holidays sometimes. Hef loved routine. Routine was practically religion. Brian explains that they're trying to prepare Holly's elaborate birthday celebration while simultaneously making sure everything stays on schedule for Mr. Hefner's weekly movie night. And that's where something struck me this time watching the episode. Why? Why does Holly's birthday have to work around movie night? Seriously, of all nights, why wouldn't they simply cancel the movie or postpone it or hold the birthday instead? This isn't just any celebration, it's the birthday of Hef's #1 girlfriend, the woman who's been planning this event for weeks, the woman who's living with him, the woman who has clearly poured her heart into every tiny detail. Yet instead of replacing movie night, her party has to squeeze itself into the existing schedule. Think about what that says. Even when the occasion is supposed to revolve around Holly, everything still ultimately revolves around Hef. Movie night isn't moving, changing, or adapting. Holly has to adapt. Again. And if you've been listening to this podcast from the beginning, doesn't that sound familiar? We've talked so many times about the invisible rules of the mansion. The curfews, the mandatory outings, the dinner schedule, the bedroom schedule, the allowance schedule. Everything operated almost like clockwork. On paper, Holly appears to have quite a bit of influence around the mansion by season 3. She's organizing parties, choosing themes, decorating rooms, helping plan events. But moments like this remind us that there were limits to that influence, very firm limits. Because the one thing that apparently couldn't change was Hef's routine.
Let's get busy. I'm getting Holly a ton of stuff for her birthday. Puppy finds a friend, la petite chienne s'est trouvée un ami. I probably didn't say that right, but... And then I got her Queen of Fashion, Marie Antoinette. Everything's gonna be French-themed.
I love to shop for clothes. J'adore acheter des vêtements.
Aww.
I want to be a designer. Je serai styliste.
I love to put a lot of detail into the wrapping that I do for a present because I feel like the presentation of a present is half the present.
From there, we head upstairs to Bridget's bedroom. And I've said it before, but if there were ever an Olympic event for gift wrapping, Bridget Marcourt would have multiple gold medals. She's sitting surrounded by beautiful wrapping paper, tissue paper, ribbons, and carefully arranged gifts as she puts together Holly's birthday basket. The theme? Naturally, French. Inside are children's books written in French, a bilingual talking doll, other French-inspired goodies. Every item is individually wrapped, every ribbon is tied perfectly, every bow sits exactly where it should. Bridget says something that completely sums up her personality. She explains that the presentation is half the gift. Bridget, sweetie, we know. We've watched you wrap presents for 3 seasons now. At this point, I think Bridget could make a package of toe warmers look like it belongs in the Louvre. But watching this scene made me think about something I mentioned all the way back in season 1. Do you remember when we talked about how childlike the girls' rooms felt? Stuffed animals, Disney decorations, pastel colors, dolls, toy collections, children's accessories. At the time, I floated a theory that many of the women seemed almost encouraged to project youthfulness, not just physically, but aesthetically. Looking back now, I actually think there's even more evidence to support that observation. Holly herself has since admitted that while she lived at the mansion, she intentionally changed the way she spoke. She consciously adopted a much softer, higher, more childlike voice. It was something she did on purpose. When Holly revealed that in more recent interviews, it completely changed how I rewatched the series. Suddenly, you begin noticing just how often everyone speaks in baby voices. Not every conversation, but enough that it becomes difficult to ignore. It's almost like femininity inside the mansion wasn't just about looking young. It extended into mannerisms like speech, interests, decor, even gifts. Now, I want to be careful here because liking Disney or collecting stuffed animals doesn't automatically mean someone is trying to appear younger. Plenty of adults genuinely love those things. But taken together, the baby voice, the decor, the toys, the childlike accessories, it creates an interesting pattern. Back downstairs, Holly is sitting at the dining room table, tapping away on what can only be described as peak 2007 technology. A jeweled covered phone with a slide-out keyboard. I miss the confidence we all had decorating our phones. Brian approaches Holly looking nervous. Not mildly concerned, actually nervous. He begins explaining that there's a potential issue. Apparently, Mr. Hefner has recently started beginning movie night earlier than usual. Years ago, viewers became familiar with the routine. Dinner, conversation, then right around 7 o'clock, Hef would announce, "It's movie time!" Everyone would migrate into the screening room together. Simple. Except, according to Brian, that schedule has quietly been shifting. Lately, Hef has been wanting to start earlier, which creates a problem, because Holly's party is still happening. Now, there's an interesting detail that wasn't mentioned on the show, but has been discussed by people who spent time around Hef. Despite the lavish buffets prepared for guests every week, Hef often didn't eat them himself. Instead, he reportedly preferred a very simple meal. Things like Lipton soup and a baked potato, served privately, away from the crowd. It's such a funny contrast. The chefs are preparing these extravagant spreads worthy of a luxury hotel, while Hef is perfectly content with what sounds like something my grandma made when she didn't feel like cooking. But it also explains why movie night may have become increasingly important. Dinner wasn't really the event. The movie was. The movie was the routine, the ritual. Brian gently tells Holly he's worried about the timing, and Holly immediately cuts him off. Hef is not allowed to start the movie early tonight. I actually laughed, not because she's being rude, but because you can hear the birthday girl finally planting her flag. She's basically saying, "I've compromised enough. Tonight is my night."
Good afternoon, Miss Holly. I'm noticing that the movie tonight is 123 minutes. And
Hef is not allowed to start the movie early tonight.
Well, like last night, we had the long movie, and Mr. Hefner started the movie at 6:30.
Well, he can't tonight because we have a formal setup, so...
Well, is Mr. Hefner aware? I mean, have you told him that?
If you see him, you can tell him.
I can't tell him.
We'll tell him that I said.
But I can't tell Mr. Hefner what to do. I mean, I can't give him...
We'll tell him I said.
But I can't. Well...
Brian, meanwhile, looks like someone accidentally handed him a live grenade. He stumbles over his words. I can't tell Mr. Hefner what to do. Well, if that one sentence doesn't say it all. I can't tell Mr. Hefner what to do. That wasn't just Brian talking. That was the hierarchy of the mansion. Even on Holly's birthday, there were some things no one felt comfortable asking of Hef. Even something as small as delaying a movie by 30 minutes. As Brian escapes what has to be one of the most uncomfortable conversations of his day, another visitor arrives at the mansion. Artist Mark Frazier. He's carrying 2 very large wrapped canvases that Holly has commissioned as part of her birthday decor. Mark carefully unwraps the first portrait. It's Hef, or rather, King Hef. He's been digitally placed onto the body of an 18th-century monarch, dressed in an elaborately embroidered coat complete with lace cuffs, white gloves, knee breeches, stockings, the whole royal package. Then Mark unveils Holly's portrait. She's been transformed into Marie Antoinette herself, modeled after the famous portrait almost everyone has seen at some point, even if you couldn't immediately name it. She's wearing the iconic powder blue gown overflowing with silk, lace, and pearls. It's instantly recognizable, and Holly lights up. She genuinely seems thrilled, smiling from ear to ear. She compliments the artwork and looks proud. Watching only this episode, you'd assume these portraits turned out exactly as she imagined. Years later, on Girls Next Level, Holly talked about these portraits again. She said she actually loved Hef's. She thought his looked fantastic. But she confessed she wasn't nearly as happy with her own. She felt it looked overly photoshopped, like someone had simply cut out a picture of her face and pasted it on another body. And once she says that, you kinda can't unsee it. Meanwhile, and across the mansion, Kendra is talking to her mom, Patty, on the phone. And already, I'm laughing, because the contrast between Holly's meticulous planning and Kendra's approach to life has never been more obvious. Holly has spent weeks organizing every tiny detail of this party. Kendra doesn't have anything to wear the day of the party. She tells Patty she has absolutely nothing for this, quote, old-fashioned party, end quote. I love that she keeps calling it an old-fashioned party, because it's obvious she doesn't really understand what the theme is. Marie Antoinette? French royalty? 18th century? To Kendra, it's just old. That's the category, old-fashioned. She also claims she never had time to shop for a costume. I know Kendra's personality by this point. She procrastinates and usually thrives under pressure. Still, she knew the invitation literally required period-inspired costumes. I mean, mandatory, not optional, mandatory. And somehow we're still arriving at party day with absolutely no plan. Classic Kendra. Her solution? Root through the archaeological dig site that is her bedroom. Somewhere underneath all the clutter, apparently, is an outfit befitting of an 18th century royal ball.
Holly's obsessed with Paris and the whole French thing. I guess she wanted to have a French theme for her birthday.
When's Holly's birthday?
Today.
What are you doing for that?
Having like an old-fashioned party. I just don't have anything to wear. And, this just adds to the stress here, finding something to wear for that thing. I didn't have time to go out and buy Marie Antoinette outfit. What am I gonna wear? I don't have any
Old-fashioned, like how old?
like Marie Antoinette kind of stuff.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna have to dig through my my black hole.
Next, we catch up with Bridget, who's flying down the highway in that cherry red Porsche we know and love. She's on a very important mission. Joining her is playmate Monica Lee, and together they're heading to check on Holly's birthday present from Hef. Bridget explains that Holly had wanted a golf cart for quite a while, and eventually Hef gave in. But rather than simply buying one off the lot, he allowed Bridget to help customize it. And if someone tells Bridget she can customize something, they should already know what's about to happen. Because Bridget doesn't do subtle. The girls arrive, and there it is. A hot pink and white golf cart, completely customized. Playboy bunny logos, matching upholstery, every detail coordinated. The girls just stand there staring at it, even they're impressed. And I have to say, it's adorable. Ridiculous, but adorable. It somehow manages to look exactly like something Holly would have designed herself. Bridget is absolutely glowing. Not because she's receiving the gift, but because she's so excited for Holly to see it. Again, that's such a Bridget trait. She genuinely enjoys giving gifts almost more than receiving them. Later, she brings Hef over to the Playmate house to reveal the finished golf cart before Holly sees it. He's pleasantly surprised. Actually, more than pleasantly surprised. He, too, looks genuinely impressed. He climbs into the driver's seat, looks around, and immediately notices something very Hef. It even has a cup holder for my Jack Daniels. Of course. Not coffee, not water, not soda. Jack Daniels. Never change, Hef. Inside the mansion, the party machine is fully underway. Staff members are polishing champagne flutes until they sparkle. Rose centerpieces are carefully fluffed and adjusted. The dining room table is dressed in some of the mansion's finest china. Everything looks elegant without feeling overly stuffy. You can tell Holly had a very specific vision. While all this is happening, Holly is off at the salon having her hair transformed into an elaborate 18th century updo. And this gives Hank from maintenance exactly the window he needs. His mission? Inconspicuously relocate the golf cart to the mansion before Holly gets home.
Getting ready for the party, have sent Hank over to the other house to get the golf cart.
We're up to, 5 miles an hour, maybe. Hoping I'll run over a pedestrian. I am cute in this. I can't see, but I'm cute in it.
I think Holly is gonna love her present. I'm so excited for her to get it.
Now, Hank has become one of my favorite background characters over the years because he always approaches every task with this wonderfully dry sense of humor. The golf cart has now been decorated with a gigantic red bow. There's also an oversized birthday card hanging over the windshield that's roughly the size of a dining table. It's impossible to see around. Driving the golf cart at approximately 2 miles per hour and straight out of Ace Ventura, his head is sticking awkwardly out the side as he tries desperately to see where he's going. He jokes, "I can't see, but I look cute." Fortunately, Hank successfully parks it just out of sight. Mission accomplished. And literally, seconds later, Holly's white Porsche comes rolling into the driveway. Talk about timing. As soon as she steps out of the car, everyone immediately starts directing traffic. Walk this way. Don't look over there. Keep coming. It's one of those moments where the surprise is so obvious. Everyone's trying so hard not to ruin it that they almost end up giving it away anyway. But before Holly can discover her present, she runs into someone who has an entirely different birthday problem.
That your hair looks good.
Thanks. Hey, I have a princess outfit for you that's Chargers colors.
You do? Oh my God. What, for tonight?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh my God, thank you. That's what my drama is right now, looking for something to wear.
I know, I'll bring it to you later.
Thank you, that's really nice.
I gotta get organized.
Holly spots Kendra and tells her she has an outfit for her to wear this evening. Kendra's face lights up. Really? Oh, wow. Thank you. That's what I've been stressing about. Gosh, Holly, that's so nice of you. Her relief seems completely genuine. She looks grateful, and like a huge weight has just been lifted off of her shoulders. Watching only this exchange, you'd think the problem has been solved. But this scene has become one of the most discussed moments from the episode over the years, because what Holly eventually brings to Kendra isn't exactly what most viewers were expecting. We'll come back to that, because first, our attention gets diverted by something sitting innocently on a buffet table. A cake. A beautiful, completely untouched, custom birthday cake. Let's talk about this masterpiece. It's a gorgeous 3-tier cake, bright white frosting, hot pink piped borders, and elegant fleur-de-lis running down the sides. It's exactly what you'd imagine for a Marie Antoinette birthday. It's feminine, classic, sophisticated, clearly custom-made. And Holly had mentioned earlier how excited she was about this cake. So it's obvious she had been looking forward to seeing it finished. Then Kendra walks by. She pauses, looks at the cake, reaches out, sticks one finger directly into the frosting, takes a scoop, licks it, and continues walking. Excuse me. I honestly couldn't believe what I'd just seen. Who does this? And not a tiny taste hidden behind the cake, not underneath where no one would notice, like right there, front and center. Like she's sampling frosting at Costco. I have spent a concerning amount of time trying to imagine a situation where I would walk up to someone else's custom birthday cake before the party, stick my finger into it, and think, yeah, this seems fine. I can't. I simply cannot. I know I've joked before that Kendra could be a little rough around the edges, but this moment, I mean, girl, Were you raised by raccoons? Because this feels feral. I mean, both hilarious and horrifying, but completely feral. A few moments later, Holly notices something. She's standing near the buffet with Bridget, who has just returned from her hair appointment. Holly looks at the cake, leans in and says, "Did you put your finger in the cake?" Poor Bridget, immediately accused. Bridget looks confused. "What? No." She walks over, bends down to inspect the damage. "Oh, you're right, but I didn't do it." Meanwhile, the editors deserve an Emmy because as Holly and Bridget are carefully investigating this tiny swipe of missing frosting, the camera cuts to Kendra standing aloof in the background. She doesn't say a word, looking about as guilty as anyone has ever looked in reality television history. It's almost cartoonish. You know, those old sitcoms where someone accidentally breaks a vase and then quietly inches toward the exit while everyone investigates. That's the energy. Her face practically says, "Please don't ask me," and she never volunteers the information. Later that afternoon, Holly heads upstairs carrying the costume she promised Kendra.
Hey, I have a costume for you. It's Snow White, but it was also
Cute.
Charger's colors.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And there's stockings to go with it.
Thanks.
Charger colors, navy blue and yellow. Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I'm like, no. No. I'm never going to wear that thing, okay?
Now this is where things get interesting. Because Kendra opens the garment bag and inside is Snow White. Bright yellow polyester skirt, royal blue bodice, puffy sleeves, exaggerated red bow. Very recognizable, very Disney, very Party City adjacent. Now, to be fair, it wasn't actually from Party City. Today, Holly is still defending herself on Girls Next Level, explaining that this had been one of her own trashy lingerie-designed costumes, freshly dry-cleaned. And she thought Kendra would approve since the San Diego Chargers colors were represented in the frock. Okay, I understand the logic. Kind of. But visually, it feels completely different from what everyone else ends up wearing. When Holly leaves the room, Kendra stares at it. Silence. Then she simply says, no. And I get it. I would have had questions too. Imagine being told the dress code is 18th century French royalty, and then someone hands you a synthetic peasant Snow White. There's definitely a disconnect. And this is where I'd really love to hear everyone's opinion, because I've gone back and forth on this for years. Initially, I always assumed Holly was simply trying to help. She had an extra costume, Kendra needed one, end of story, makes sense. But then this episode keeps unfolding, and new information keeps appearing. And suddenly, I'm not sure it's that simple, because we're about to discover that Holly didn't just have one extra costume, she had several. And not only that, she'd gone out of her way to provide beautiful themed outfits for multiple guests attending the party, including women who didn't even live at the mansion. That's where my eyebrows start raising. Because if everyone else is receiving elegant, period-inspired gowns, why is Kendra getting Snow White? Again, I'm not saying this proves anything. I'm not accusing Holly of intentionally trying to embarrass Kendra. But I am saying it becomes harder to ignore once you see what comes next. Over at the Playmate house, Sarah Underwood and Allison Waite are getting ready for Holly's birthday. And this is where my little conspiracy board starts filling up with red string.
I'm excited to see the outfits. I think they're going to be really cute. Holly did such a good job.
I got costumes for all my guests, and I sent them to them ahead of time so that they could show up dressed the part.
Yes, Sarah.
Okay, this feels like a little Tinkerbell outfit.
That's hot, though. I feel like it's really sexy. This is really cute.
Both women are excitedly opening the outfits Holly sent over for them. And unlike Kendra, these dresses are brand new. They're still in their original packaging. Sarah slips into a feminine, soft blue dress with delicate lace detailing, a corset-style tie-up front, and a flouncy layered skirt. It's elegant and absolutely fits the Marie Antoinette aesthetic Holly had been describing all episode. Allison's dress is similar. It's darker in color with an off-the-shoulder neckline, layered ruffles, and long ribbon accents cascading down the skirt. Both dresses mesh for a cohesive themed look. Both look thoughtfully chosen, and the girls are genuinely excited to wear them. Let me be clear, I'm not trying to create drama where there isn't any, but this visual is exactly why people still debate the Snow White costume. Now we're comparing apples to apples, or maybe macaroons to poisoned apples. Point is, Holly clearly had access to multiple period-inspired dresses. She'd purchased, or at least provided, beautiful coordinating outfits for women she'd invited to attend. So naturally, the question becomes, why not one of those for Kendra? Again, there could be perfectly innocent explanations. Maybe the sizes didn't work. Although doubtful, as the bodies involved in this show always appeared eerily interchangeable. Maybe the dresses had already been assigned. But then why wouldn't you allow Kendra preference over outsider playmates? Maybe Holly genuinely believed it fit the theme. Except, girl, be so for real. I suppose all of those are possible, but I also think it's fair to acknowledge why viewers have questioned it for nearly 20 years. Because on screen, it does look odd, especially considering what we're about to see everyone else wearing. Back at the mansion, Holly and Bridget are putting the finishing touches on their own looks. Both women have elaborate professional updos piled high with curls and soft tendrils framing their faces. They're wearing almost matching powder blue gowns inspired by 18th-century French fashion. The dresses are overflowing with lace, ribbon, ruffles, and layers of tulle underneath to create that dramatic silhouette. White thigh-high stockings, sparkling tiaras, pearl jewelry, the whole effect is whimsical. They actually look like they stepped out of a fairy tale. There's also one of my favorite little moments in the episode. Both women are almost completely dressed, except neither has been able to lace up the back of her own corset. So simultaneously, without saying anything, they each move to help the other. And for about 5 seconds, they unintentionally walk in a tiny circle chasing each other around the room. It's such a small moment, but it's adorable. It perfectly captures Holly and Bridget's friendship. They're so in sync that they actually get in each other's way. Eventually, they start laughing and finally manage to help each other get dressed. Cut to Kendra's bedroom, and it's back to Groundhog Day. The Snow White costume has officially been rejected. She's digging through every drawer, every pile, every mysterious mountain of clothing. And then, success. Way in the back of her closet, she finds an old pirate costume she'd worn before. I know, it sounds like another disaster. Pirate for Marie Antoinette? Those aren't exactly neighboring categories. But here's where I have to give Kendra a lot of credit. Because she doesn't simply throw it on, she starts editing. The dark leather accessories, gone. The harsher pirate elements, removed. She keeps the gold lace dress with the flowing bell sleeves, pulls her hair up into a neat bun, adds gold strappy stilettos, keeps the jewelry elegant, and somehow it works. Is it historically accurate? Not even remotely. Could she have survived 5 minutes in the court of Versailles dressed like that? Absolutely not. But she actually fits in much better than I expected. Marie Antoinette herself would have spared Kendra her own head. Finally, it's showtime. Holly, Bridget, Kendra, and Hef all descend the mansion's famous grand staircase together. Waiting below are a photographer and videographer ready to document the evening. The mansion staff have secretly decided to dress up too, and they all bow in character wearing period-inspired uniforms and French-made costumes, complete with ruffled collars and powdered periwigs. Everyone committed, no half measures.
My party looked so beautiful. The staff really helped me out a lot.
Honey, look it! Come look it!
And the butlers wore white wigs.
I think this is the way we're going to dress you from now on. This is it.
Holly is radiating with delight. You can tell she wasn't expecting it, and she's touched that the staff embraced the theme so enthusiastically. It isn't something they had to do. They chose to. I think that's part of why Holly loved themed events so much. When everyone participates, it creates this immersive little world where, for one evening, everyone agrees to play pretend together. Even Hef gets a huge laugh out of seeing everyone in costume. One of those deep, unmistakable Hef cackles that echoes through the foyer. For just a moment, everyone seems completely relaxed. And before the first guest even arrives, there's one more surprise waiting outside. With everyone finally assembled in costume, Holly is gently steered toward the front doors. As soon as Holly steps outside, there it is, proudly parked in the circular driveway. A custom hot pink and white golf cart wrapped with a giant red bow. Hanging over the windshield, the enormous birthday card that practically requires its own zip code. Across the front, it now reads, "To Holly, love Hef." Holly screams an excited squeal. She throws her arms around Hef, thanking him over and over, before running toward the golf cart like a kid on Christmas morning. You can tell this wasn't something she'd casually mentioned once. This was something she'd really wanted. And after hearing Bridget explain how much thought went into customizing every little detail, it's satisfying seeing Holly appreciate it so much. She jumps into the driver's seat, Hef claims shotgun, Bridget and Kendra climb onto the back bench. The four of them cruise slowly around the circular driveway, waving and laughing as if they're leading a tiny royal parade. After a quick lap around the driveway, they head back inside. The first invited guests through the doors are Crystal Camden, along with Sarah Underwood, Allison Waite, and Janine Habeck from the Playmate House. And my brain goes right back to the costume discussion, because every single one of them looks perfectly on theme. Everyone appears coordinated without looking identical, and it creates exactly the soft, romantic aesthetic Holly had envisioned. A little later, Tiffany Fallon arrives, wearing another princess-inspired dress that feels just old-fashioned enough to blend seamlessly with everyone else. Within minutes, the grand foyer begins filling with playmates, friends, and invited guests. Camera flashes pop constantly, people are hugging, laughing, admiring one another's costumes. Then Holly tells us something I had completely forgotten about. Apparently, Playboy had been running a contest where the grand prize included a trip to the Playboy Mansion. Tonight's winners are arriving as guests, Jeff and Jennifer. First of all, what an incredible prize for a Playboy fan in 2007. Second, these two absolutely understood the assignment. Jennifer walks in wearing a gorgeous full-length royal gown complete with an elaborate corset. Jeff arrives in an embroidered overcoat, knee breeches, and a crown. Together, they genuinely look like 18th century royalty. If anyone at this party could have walked straight into Versailles without raising suspicion, it's probably these two. And here's another little detail that came out later in the deleted scenes. Those costumes, Holly provided them too. There's also a funny deleted moment where Jennifer's corset ends up being just a little too roomy. Without missing a beat, Holly disappears and returns with tube socks. Apparently, each side of the corset receives one pair of strategically placed tube socks to help everything fit correctly. Problem solved. Only Holly would have an emergency corset solution ready to go. But watching these deleted scenes reinforced something I'd already started wondering. Holly really wanted everyone to look the part. She wasn't simply hosting a birthday, she was directing an experience. Every guest became part of the visual story. Every detail mattered. Every costume mattered. Which brings me back to Kendra. Because after seeing Holly help Sarah, help Allison, help Jennifer, help Jeff, provide costumes, solve wardrobe problems, make sure everyone looks cohesive, I can't quite ignore the comparison. Everyone else receives elegant period attire. Kendra receives the obvious outlier.
Everything was pulled off perfectly. The presents, the costumes, and the cake.
My ass got a good taste of the cake. Oh my God. I accidentally sat on the cake. Oh my God.
Accidentally sat on the cake. Got a cake all on the back of her dress.
As Holly is doing what every good hostess does, circulating through the party, greeting guests, making introductions, and soaking in all the little details she spent weeks planning, the camera cuts to another part of the foyer. Hef and Kendra are perched together on the edge of the buffet table. And then, disaster strikes. Again. Kendra stands up, the camera catches it and zooms in. She freezes, slowly reaches behind herself, looks down and realizes the back of her dress is covered in bright pink frosting. Now, unlike the finger swipe, this is very clearly an accident. There's no question. She wasn't horsing around, she wasn't trying to ruin anything, she simply didn't realize how close she was sitting. It could have happened to anybody. The camera cuts to Holly, and for just a split second, her face completely drops. I don't blame her. Imagine spending weeks designing your dream birthday cake. First, somebody samples the frosting. Now somebody has backed up on it. At this point, that cake deserved hazard pay. Thankfully, everyone seems to laugh it off fairly quickly. The mood doesn't change. The party keeps going. Nobody appears angry, and I'm glad because accidents happen. Still, if I were that cake decorator watching this episode at home, I'd probably have needed a stress ball. Eventually, everyone makes their way into the dining room, and it looks beautiful. The long table is glowing under candlelight. Fresh roses sit in elegant arrangements down the center. Fine china, crystal stemware, gold accents. It's exactly what you'd picture for an extravagant French-inspired dinner. The mansion chefs really did an incredible job. Dinner is served, conversation flows, then it's present time. If you've been listening to this podcast since season 1, you already know what's coming. Because Bridget doesn't simply hand someone a gift. She presents a gift. She disappears briefly, then returns carrying Holly's basket with the precision of someone transporting the Olympic torch. She sets it down carefully, and Holly begins opening everything inside. Of course, there isn't enough time to examine every individual item on camera. There are books, French-themed gifts, the bilingual doll, beautiful little wrapped surprises tucked throughout the basket. Thoughtful, personal, unmistakably Bridget. Bridget has always excelled at making people feel celebrated. That's really her superpower. Among the gifts Holly unwraps is something that screams mid-2000s Playboy. A custom Swarovski crystal bra. Across the cups, sparkling crystals spell out, "I love Hef." And I had to laugh because there really was no escaping the branding at the Playboy Mansion. Even birthday lingerie managed to reinforce the relationship. It's definitely one of those gifts that only makes sense within this very specific world. Anywhere else, it would seem incredibly random. Finally, it's time for birthday candles. You might expect Holly to be blowing out candles on the original 3-tier masterpiece. But no. Instead, the mansion kitchen has prepared a second cake. Probably a smart decision. This one is a large sheet cake featuring Holly's Marie Antoinette-inspired portrait printed across the top. Near her face is a speech bubble that reads, "Let them eat cake." Holly smiles as everyone sings happy birthday. She closes her eyes, blows out the candles, and just for a moment, you can tell she's genuinely happy. Not posing, not performing, just enjoying her birthday. As the evening winds down, we get the traditional end-of-episode confessionals. Kendra is asked what her favorite part of the night was. Without hesitation, she says, "The food was excelente." That's a Kendra answer if I've ever heard one. Not the decorations, not the costumes, not the golf cart. The food. Fair enough. Bridget reflects that she thinks Holly had an amazing birthday and that she got everything she wanted and more. It's such a Bridget sentiment. She's genuinely happy when the people she loves are happy. Then Holly delivers the final line of the episode.
I was so excited and having so much fun on my birthday. I totally forgot to even wish for anything when I blew out my candles. I guess that's what happens when your life is perfect.
I was so excited and having so much fun on my birthday, I totally forgot to even wish for anything when I blew out my candles. Then she smiles. I guess that's what happens when your life is perfect. She kisses Hef. Fade to black. And every single time I hear that quote, it hits differently now than it did in 2007. Back then, I don't think many viewers questioned it. She looked happy. The relationship appeared stable. She'd gotten the party she'd dreamed about. The statement seemed sincere. But today, knowing everything Holly would eventually reveal about life inside the mansion, that line feels almost haunting. Not because I think she was lying, I actually don't. I think in that moment she probably believed exactly what she was saying. Or maybe she desperately wanted to believe it. And sometimes those two things aren't as different as we'd like to think they are. And that's exactly why I still love revisiting this series. Every rewatch reveals something I never noticed before. Sometimes it's a look across the room. Sometimes it's an awkward conversation. And sometimes it's a costume choice that launches a 20-year debate. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love to hear what you think. Do you believe Holly was sincerely trying to help Kendra with the Snow White costume? Or after seeing the dresses she provided for everyone else, do you think there's something more going on there? I honestly go back and forth every time I watch this episode, so let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're enjoying more Girls Next Door, don't forget to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with another Girls Next Door fan. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.
On the bricks.